The Arcturian Council delivered their final verdict. Your destiny just shifted. Feel that statement settle in your body. Breathe slow. Put your attention into your hands. Notice any warmth, any electricity, any tiny pins and needles. Move that attention to your chest. Does something press, open, or expand there? Rest your focus on your forehead, the center above the eyes, and sense any warmth, buzzing, or a soft pressure like a door beginning to unlatch. This is not a metaphor. This is a calibration sensation. This is the first evidence that something inside you is waking up now. You are being told this directly because the field around you hit a resonance the Arcturian Council recognizes. They came with a verdict. The seal that kept a latent multidimensional ability closed has shifted. Not partially, not maybe. It has moved. As you listen, you may feel that shift as sensation. The verdict is not an abstract decree. It operates through your body, through circuitry you have carried for longer than this life. Here are the first unmistakable signs you can check for in your own nervous system. Read them slowly and let your body answer. If one or more are present, let them anchor you into the fact that this is an activation event, not a thought experiment. 1. Tingling in the hands and fingers, like the first notes of a familiar song. It might be soft, like a feather brushing your skin, or bright, like a current passing through the fingertips. It arrives when you become still, and sometimes it comes in waves without obvious cause. This is the circuitry booting. 2. Pressure, warmth, or an opening expanding in the chest. Not panic, but a widening that feels like a memory returning. It can feel like someone unlocking the ribs, a permission to hold more light and more presence. This is the chamber where integration begins. 3. Warmth, or a gentle heat across the forehead between the eyebrows. Not a headache, but a focus, like a signal lamp turning on above your mind. This is the point where inner vision and external perception begin to align. 4. Sudden shifts in perception, small at first, colors richer, sounds layered differently, a sense that timing has subtle new edges. You might notice that you read a room differently, that your body knows an answer before the mind does. 5. A felt presence of your future self behind you, watching or nudging, sometimes felt as a breath at your shoulder, or a felt certainty that you are already further along than your outer life admits. This is the future self bridge opening. If any of this landed inside you, you may feel relief, or confusion, or both. If you feel called, you may type the single word activated in the comments, or mark this moment privately by repeating an anchor. I feel the shift. This is optional. It is simply a tool to help your attention gather. Notice how small this list is, and how vast the implication. These are not random sensations. They are the early signals of neuroenergetic architecture being reawakened. They are the first beats of a song your field remembers. Now let me walk you carefully through the first hours and days after that verdict touched your field, what the initial calibrations look like, what you will feel as those circuits come online, and how to hold yourself. Pay attention to the somatic cues as they repeat. They are your map. First signs your ability is coming online. When a latent capacity begins to unseal, it does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives as calibration, bursts, glitches, and increasing stability. Expect phases, not a single grand reveal. You will move through small windows of intensity, followed by settling. Here is what to expect in the first phase. You will feel activation spikes, sudden, bright moments of sensation that last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. These can happen while you are in the shower, while you are making coffee, while a song plays. They arrive as a slice of clarity, an insight that lands like a key fitting a lock, a recognition of someone's emotional tone before words are spoken, a memory that is not yours but feels like language you once learned. There will be scanning, an internal somatic scanning that feels like your spine or your hands are reading the room. You may notice your hands move slightly as if sweeping through an invisible texture. This is not random movement, it is your field mapping patterns. Allow your hands to rest and notice the micro movements. Bring compassionate curiosity to them. They are not broken,
they are aligning. You might receive downloads, not data in the intellectual sense, but impressions, images, phrases, a mapping of a place or a color that carries meaning that shows up later in practical ways. These downloads are often coded. They come as feeling first, sense second. Do not force interpretation. Let them rest in your chest and your forehead. Over time, the code unpacks as lived experience. Your dreams will shift. You may wake with a phrase in your head or a vivid scene that loops and feels like instructions. Keep a journal near your bed. These dream fragments are the early scaffolding of the future self conversation. You will be more sensitive to emotional fields. This sensitivity is not just empathy, it's an expanded antenna. You will notice micro changes in others, a hesitation at the edge of a sentence, a slight contraction in the throat, the way breath levels change under stress. That sensitivity can feel raw at first. It will settle as you learn to name what you are sensing and to choose your response with more precision. There will be moments of physical dissonance, fatigue, clarity, jitteriness, then calm. These are calibration cycles. They are your internal systems rebalancing to accommodate a new bandwidth. You are allowed to rest. Resting here is not retreat, it is integration.
Why it was sealed and why it opens now. There is always a timing to awakening. It is not arbitrary. The seal that the Arcturian Council refers to is not a punitive lock. It is a timed safeguard. Imagine a device that holds radioactive memory. It is held closed until the surrounding environment can safely host it. The seal kept this ability dormant for reasons that are practical, energetic, and ethical. First, emotional readiness. Some abilities require a baseline of regulation. If your nervous system cannot hold the influx, the ability would overwhelm rather than serve. The Council waits until the field has sufficient resilience, capacity to feel without collapse, to hold boundary without isolation, to lead with compassion without confusion. Second, mission alignment. You did not carry this skill for vanity. It is functional, directed towards service. The seal waits for points in collective time when a person's signature aligns with a greater need. The Council looks at the thread of your life, where you have shown steadiness, where you have faced wounds and still chosen presence. When your ethical axis and your skill set match the field's call, the seal becomes negotiable. Third, field windows. There are moments when planetary and galactic alignments make it safer to open certain frequencies. These are not predictions for you to trade on. They are contextual conditions that influence energetics. The Council judged that this window is now sufficiently clear. Fourth, agreements and contracts. On the level you already know, many of you made pre-incarnation choices with facilitators and allies. Those commitments create a structural permission that needs to be honored. The Council respects those agreements, and their verdict reflects those pre-existing alignments. The key point: the opening is not arbitrary, nor is it punitive. It is coordinated. You were not activated because you demanded it. You were activated because the field, your inner capacity, and mission alignment reached a point of coherent resonance. That resonance triggered the verdict. What the Arcturians are activating inside you now. The Council is not flipping a single switch. They are orchestrating multiple systems in tandem, some neural, some energetic, some relational. Each system has a fingerprint, a somatic note you can tune to. I will name them plainly, with the somatic cues you will likely notice as each system stabilizes. 1. Field sensitivity and refinement. As you may notice, increased tingling at the hands, a sense of textures in the air. This system lets you perceive energetic contours that were previously blurred. It is not about reading minds, it is about reading patterns. You will sense the quality of an intent before it becomes action. 2. Emotional coherence. As you may notice, warmth in the chest, a slower breath in moments of agitation. This is not emotional suppression. It is a harmonizing of the internal orchestra, so feelings can be felt without hijacking your center. You will feel more steady, even when others are not. 3. Intuitive intelligence. As you may notice, a sudden certainty, an instinctive step, a knowing that bypasses prolonged analysis. This intelligence moves like a compass when you learn to trust it. It will shorten decision loops and reduce energy spent on second-guessing. 4. Neuroenergetic pathways. As you may notice,
lightning-like flashes at the forehead and temples, the sense of a map folding. These pathways are literal repatternings of how your body interprets information. They create direct lines between perception and action. Over time, they become efficient routes you can ride. 5. Future self-linkage. As you may notice, the impression of being spoken to by a nearer version of yourself. This is not external prophecy. It is a calibration device. Moments when a future timeline touches your present and offers an abbreviated instruction or a comfort that is specific and practical. 6. Field stabilization protocols. As you may notice, small waves of calm after spikes, a return to baseline that is quicker than before. These protocols reduce bleed and overflow, creating a field around you that holds the new frequency without scattering it. Each of these systems layers into your daily life slowly. The initial days will be a mosaic of small wins and strange glitches. You are not failing if you wobble. You are learning new hardware. How to work with these activations. Small, practical anchors. This is not a how-to manual for mastery. It is a set of practical tools to help you stabilize in the earliest stages. Use them as experiments. Nothing here is mandatory. Everything is optional and offered as an aid. Grounding with the hands. When you notice tingling or scanning, take 10 slow breaths and place both hands on a physical surface, a table, the floor, your thighs. Name out loud what you feel in a single word. Warmth, pressure, buzz. Naming focuses the attention and helps the nervous system map sensation into language. Chest breath anchoring. If your chest opens wide and emotion rushes, use a counted exhale. Breathe in for 4, out for 6. Repeat 3 times. Allow the exhale to hold the new energetic material in place. This calms the system and lets integration occur in small, manageable increments. Forehead focus micropauses. When the forehead signal comes, pause whatever you are doing for 5 seconds. Close your eyes, put a finger to the spot just above the eyebrows, and imagine a gentle latch slowly turning. This is not forcing the opening, it is honoring the signal and giving it presence. Journal flashes. Keep a small pad beside you. Each time a download or a dream fragment arrives, jot the core image or phrase in one line. Over days, you will see repetition. Those repetitions are the code. They reveal function.
Consent anchors. At any point when an activation feels intense or unwanted, internally say, I choose my pace. Speak this privately. You are allowed to slow the process. Consent is part of the structural integrity of this work. Optional field anchor phrase. If you feel called, you may repeat quietly, I align my field with clarity and service. This is an optional anchor to center intention. It is a tool, not a spell. What this ability is preparing you for next. This activation has purpose. It is not simply an inner upgrade. It is orientation training for actionable presence. Here are the practical domains in which this ability will function and how they will show up in ordinary life. Energy navigation. You will learn to move through environments with greater precision. In marketplaces, meetings, or crowded rooms, you will be able to sense where tension concentrates and where openness invites exchange. That does not mean you will control others. It means you will know where to invest your attention and where to hold back. Reading people at depth. Not a mind-reading trick, but a clear sense of someone's available capacity, their readiness for conversation, the likely arc of an interaction. This will save time and emotional labor. You will stop draining yourself on exchanges that lead nowhere and find yourself drawn to fewer, higher-quality connections. Influencing environments without over-persuasion. Energy influence works by clarity and presence, not coercion. As your field stabilizes, you will notice that your steady presence changes the tone of a room. People may feel safer around you. Commitments happen more easily when you lead with aligned presence. Faster guidance. Decisions will come in sharper, quicker bursts. You will have less need for exhaustive pros and cons lists. Instead, a felt yes or no will present itself, sometimes in a bodily way. This does not eliminate discernment. It complements it with embodied intelligence. Mission acceleration. As small decisions align, larger pathways open. What used to take months of hesitation will move with a new momentum. This is not guaranteed external success. It is the alignment of internal tempo with external opportunities. When you are in rhythm, things that matter to your mission accelerate. Future self-integration.
You will become more fluent in receiving briefings from the version of you that has already walked further down this path. These briefings are rarely long. They are pragmatic, a caution, a suggestion, a small encouragement. The more you practice listening, the clearer these messages become. All of this reframes activity into energetic literacy. Your life will not become magical in the cinematic sense. It will become more precise, with less wasted motion and more aligned decisions. Where most people stumble in the early stages. There are 3 common traps to avoid as you navigate these early activations. Trap 1. Seeking external validation.
You will be tempted to test your sensitivity in public forums, seeking validation from strangers or loud voices. This can scatter the field. Instead, cultivate contained experiments with trusted people or in private practice. Trap 2. Rushing integration. Some feel the spike and react with the urgency of more. Integration moves at the pace of the nervous system, not the desire for acceleration. Rest is not a failure, it is a strategy. Trap 3. Creating identity out of activation. The ability is not your entire self. It is a function within you. Honor it, practice with it, but keep a clear boundary. You remain a human with needs, relationships, and responsibilities beyond your field. Why this ability chose you? This is a question that humbles both the listener and the channeler. Why you? The Council's verdict is selective. They do not open capacities at random. There are patterns, and while each case is unique, there are recurring themes that describe those who are ready. Emotional steadiness under pressure. Not perfection, but endurance. You have likely faced fractures and found a way to keep returning to presence. That resilience is a requirement. The ability will test you with situations that call for steadiness. Ethical inclination. The ability works best when directed by an ethic of care. If your default impulse is to use influence for others' growth rather than personal gain, the system trusts you. The field is discerning. It aligns with those who align to service. Curiosity, and curiosity that turns inward. You notice patterns not to control them, but to understand them. That inner curiosity becomes a translation engine between what you sense and what you can do. A body story that can hold complexity. Bodies that have experienced nuanced pain or layered joy often have the richness required to host multidimensional awareness. Your life has likely been a schooling ground, not to hurt you, but to build texture. A willingness to be corrected. You are not the final authority. A readiness to receive coaching, to be contained by a community, to accept that you will need guidance is part of the selection matrix. The Council looks for malleable stewardship, not brittle certainty. These qualities are not certificates of elitism. They are practical markers that indicate you can steward a subtle frequency without creating harm. Early ethical guidelines the Council embedded in the activation. The Arcturian facilitation is not a license to override consent or to bypass personal responsibility. Their activation carries guardrails. Listen to these early guidelines as if they were wiring rules. Boundary before influence. Always confirm consent energetically or verbally before moving to influence someone's field. This does not have to be awkward. A simple inner question suffices. May I attune? If there is no clear yes, refrain. Non-manipulation clause. Use your sensitivity to clarify, to support, to protect. Do not use it to coerce, to create need, or to manufacture dependency. Self-care requirement. Integration requires practices that nurture your nervous system. Rest, movement, nutrition that suits you, and social boundaries. Neglecting self-care will jeopardize functionality. Community containment. Seek spaces where you can process experiences without exploitation. The field responds better when work is done in held containers that honor confidentiality, consent, and mutual integrity. Teachability. Keep learning. The activation is a beginning, not a diploma. Humility will speed maturation. How life begins to reorient in the first months. Expect a subtle reshaping of priorities. When your field gains traction, some things will contract to make space for new focus. This is not about loss as punishment. It is about pruning for health. Time becomes measured differently. Moments of stillness will increase in value. You will protect your attention with the same vigilance you once reserved for urgent items. Relationships will sort. Not everyone will be able to hold the new bandwidth you carry. That means some relationships slow down, some drift, and some deepen. This is natural. Treat it with compassion, for others and for yourself. Work will ask new questions. Your way of contributing may shift. You may find less interest in previous forms of productivity and more interest in roles where discernment and presence matter. This is a realignment, not a judgment. Synchronicities will become more frequent.
not as spectacular miracles, but as patterns of alignment. Doors opening when you are ready to walk through, invitations that match your new tempo, signs that confirm the path. Experiences vary, and synchronicity is not a guarantee. It is an indicator of resonance. A small practical protocol to begin integrating right now. You do not need to overhaul your life today. Start with 3 small practices, each tied to a somatic cue. Practice 1. Morning 3-minute field check. Upon waking, place your hands on your chest. Breathe 3 long breaths. Whisper the phrase, "I open only what I can hold." Listen for sensation. Write 1 word that describes the state you land in. Practice 2. Midday boundaries check. At a point you routinely work or interact, take 1 minute to touch your forehead center and picture a thin membrane that filters energy, permeable to service, impermeable to drain. Name 1 small action you will do next that honors your energy. Practice 3. Evening journal translation. Before sleep, jot 3 impressions received that day. Do not interpret. Just note imagery, phrases, or sensations. Over weeks, patterns will emerge. These practices are scaffolding. Practice them for a week and notice change. If you feel resistance, slow the practice. Integration is not a race. Small anchors you can use as micro-decisions. When the world accelerates around you and your field amplifies, you will need quick tools.
Here are 3 options that require seconds. Anchor 1, the palms on heart reset. Place both palms on your heart for 6 seconds. Breathe out and say internally, "I choose my pace." Use this when activation becomes overwhelming. Anchor 2, the forehead flick. Lightly tap the center above your brows twice and say, "Calibrate." Use this to call back scattered attention. Anchor 3, the hand sweep. Slowly sweep your hands in front of you as if brushing cobwebs away. Verbally declare, "Field tidy." This is practical when entering crowded or intense spaces. Each is optional. Each is a consented tool. None of them create fate. They are aids to practical embodiment. A mini hook for you to hold, a question to carry into the next hours. As you move through these first calibrations, hold this question lightly. Where do you want this capacity to help you show up more fully? The activation is not an arbitrary upgrade. It is purpose-driven. When you can name 1 sphere, whether it is family, work, healing, teaching, or quiet influence, you give the activation context. Context channels energy. Without context, even a great capacity can dissipate. Notice how that feels in your chest. If you are not yet sure, that is okay. Begin by naming curiosity. "I will explore where this helps" is itself a direction. What the field will test next, a gentle preparation for increasing intensity. As activation deepens, the field will test the integrity of your baseline. This is not punishment. It is stress testing so the ability can be reliable. Expect small tests, moments where you are presented with the choice to use your sensitivity for egoic advantage versus service. Moments where you must decide to hold boundary even when the sympathetic heart wants to fix. Moments where your identity is invited to step back from being solely defined by the ability. These tests are not insurmountable. They are invitations to practice your ethics in real time. Each small test that you navigate with clarity raises the capacity's trust and stabilizes the field. A brief optional anchor to use during a test. If you feel pulled toward reactivity, you may say internally, "I align to clarity now." This is a micro-choice that resets intention. Preparing for the next chapter. You have received the verdict, the seal moved. You have felt the first somatic signs, you have known what is being activated, and you have started simple practices. What comes next is a progressive deepening, a set of calibrations that will move you from early activation into a state of functional embodiment. There is a threshold ahead where reversibility becomes more complex. It will require sustained integration and ethical use. Before you step toward that threshold, there are additional stabilizing practices and community containers that serve as safety rails. These are not mandatory, but they are helpful.
The work ahead benefits from containment. Peers who can witness without spectacle, guides who can translate experiences into practical steps, sequences that ease nervous system recalibration. If you are drawn to such containment, make choices based on clarity, not urgency. Ask direct questions. What is the container's consent policy? How is confidentiality handled? What is the commitment level? These pragmatic questions protect your field. In the immediate hours, deepen the simplest stabilizers. Rest when you feel exhaustion. Name sensations when they arrive, and practice the 3 daily anchors. Let your body dictate pace. This is not a call to inaction. It's a calibration to sustainable action. And now a holding image as we approach the place where the narrative thickens. Imagine a corridor of light, narrow and steady, stretching from the center of your chest to a distant doorway. The corridor hums with the vibrations you have begun to feel. Each breath nudges you a little farther down it. Each anchored practice steadies the floor beneath your feet. You are not at the doorway yet. You are walking the corridor. The council's verdict echoes behind you like a gentle bell. As you move, you will meet more concrete tests, deeper integration protocols, and invitations that require community. The next moments will shift from private calibration into outward alignment, decisions to use the ability, choices about containers, and the first practical activations that affect how you show up in relationships and mission work. Keep your hands on the rail of sensation. Keep noting the voices of your future self when they appear. Keep choosing consent. The field is changing. You are changing with it. The next stages will require steadier containment and clearer choices, and they will reveal why this particular opening was timed to you alone. Keep your hands on that rail of sensation. As you walk the corridor, the tests arrive like mild tremors in the floorboards. Small, precise, and informative. They are not accidents. They are calibration checks that ask one simple question. Can you steward what you are beginning to hold? Expect them to show up as everyday choices disguised as normal life. One common test appears as temptation toward immediacy. Someone asks for advice in a way that stokes your ego, a chance to be right, to be seen as gifted. The field watches how you respond. Do you step forward to clarify and hold service as priority, or do you lunge for recognition? The test will feel like a warm pressure in the chest, followed by an inviting spike in the forehead. Pause. Breathe into the chest. Ask yourself out loud, who benefits most from this intervention? If the answer is not clear, slow down. The ability rewards restraint more reliably than it rewards spectacle. Another test arrives as relational friction, a friend or colleague whose energy is messy and demanding.
Your sensitivity will pick up the layers of need, and the easiest path will feel like fixing, rescuing, or absorbing. The check here is boundary. Can you feel and not fuse? The somatic cue might be the hands growing colder, a tightening at the base of the spine. Use a palms-on heart reset. Name your edge and act from it. Saying internally, "I carry only what is mine," is a practical micro-decision. These moments are not traps to shame you. They are opportunities to practice capacity. There will be professional probes. An opportunity may appear that looks like acceleration, a project, an invitation, an alignment that promises fast movement. The temptation is to leap based on the felt yes without translation. Remember, felt guidance is a compass, not a conveyor belt. Bring the felt sense into conversation with pragmatic signals. Ask for timelines, for clear responsibilities, for examples. If the felt answer is ambiguous, request time. The Council intends for your ability to increase clarity, not to bypass accountability. You will also be tested by exhaustion. The new bandwidth can feel exhilarating, which tempts you to stretch your limits. Tests of endurance are simply invitations to learn the sustainable rhythm of your unique system. If you find yourself crashing, treat it as data, not failure. Adjust protocols, call on community, and practice your consent anchors. These tests are how trust is built. Trust between you and the field, and trust between you and any external facilitators who may later work with you. Each ethical choice you make, to pause, to ask consent, to rest, is a micro-deposit in the system that allows deeper transmissions to land safely. The corridor narrows as you approach the threshold. You will feel the floor shift from warm wood to a faint hum beneath your feet. This hum is the threshold signature. Notice it as a gradient rather than a cliff. The change is experienced as density, a fuller chest, a widening behind the eyes,
a subtle elongation of time where moments hang with more significance. This is the place where reversibility becomes more complex. That complexity is practical. Once your field has reoriented to carry the new frequency for sustained periods, undoing it requires intentional unwinding with experience containment. That is why measured care now matters. What are unmistakable signs that you are crossing into deeper embodiment? Watch for a pattern rather than a single event. First sign, baseline shift. Your baseline of sensation moves. Tingling becomes an available background. Chest openness is no longer episodic but more continuous. Forehead signals arrive with less fanfare and more reliability. Think of your field as a radio that once pinged intermittently and now holds a station steadily. When steadiness becomes your new normal for days at a time, embodiment is consolidating. Second sign, decision gravity. Decisions that once required long deliberation now land as felt pulls that align body and intention. You notice that your hands move toward objects that support the choice. Your breath matches the direction. When yes becomes a somatic event and not only a mental conclusion, you have crossed into embodied discernment. Third sign, relational fidelity. Your presence begins to shape interactions before words form. People stabilize faster around you. This is both a gift and a responsibility. Tests will still come, but your nervous system will recover more quickly. When you can hold presence amid disruption and return to baseline without significant bleed, embodiment is deepening. Fourth sign, future self-dialogue becomes actionable. The messages you receive are less symbolic and more tactical. They say, take this call next week. This person will be ready in 3 months. Prepare this document. They may arrive as a temperature change in the chest, paired with a precise phrase in the forehead. When those messages align with external verification repeatedly, the bridge between present and future self is reliably built. Remember, none of these signs demand you melt existing parts of life. They simply adjust tempo and resources. Embodiment does not require becoming something else. It requires becoming more of who you already are, with additional bandwidth. At the threshold, you may feel an involuntary tightening, a fear of change, a grief for what was. That is normal. Embodiment is a form of becoming that reorganizes identity. Grief may come because old roles, unexamined patterns, and comfortable dependencies cease to fit the new field. Give yourself permission to grieve. Honor the smaller selves that need time to align. A practical unwinding protocol for moments when the threshold becomes intense. Stop and anchor in the breath. Take 3 full breaths into the chest and slowly exhale through the mouth. Say internally, I steward this only with consent. Place both hands on your thighs. Feel the weight and name one real-world action you'll take within 24 hours that honors support. Call a friend, book a therapy session, schedule rest. If emotion flickers into panic, use a 4-6 breathing cadence and whisper, I return to my center. These steps are simple but effective because they translate subtle overload into concrete moves. As embodiment stabilizes, you will notice your timing on life rhythms shifting. You will feel pulled toward projects that sustain a long view and away from quick sprint gratifications. This is not cosmic moralizing, it is pragmatic alignment. The ability amplifies long-term calibration because its utility excels at shaping margins and systems more than instant outcomes. Let's speak plainly about a topic that often raises concern: identity inflation. When an ability grows, the ego can misread its function as status.
You will get opportunities to be admired, to be cued as special, or to be invited into celebrity-like spaces. The Council's facilitation contains an ethical valve. The more you use the gift for spectacle, the less the field trusts you. Influence that originates from humility and careful practice deepens trust. Influence that seeks applause leaks the frequency. If you notice that attention is clouding your discernment, you feel buzzy, tempted, or empathy drained, step back, revisit basic protocols, rest, community feedback, and a palatable honesty practice where you name your motives to a trusted peer. The field also introduces a curious phenomenon I want you to watch for: reciprocal attunement. As your sensitivity refines, environments begin to respond in ways that make them easier to read. This is not mind control. It is a natural consequence.
Your calibrated field creates clearer energetic questions and invites clearer responses. Think of it as refining the dial so that the world can answer you more cleanly. With practice, you will notice you ask a question internally and see the world present an answer shortly after. Track these moments without creating superstition. Use them as feedback loops. Now, practical ways to practice stewardship in real scenarios. Entering gatherings. Before you walk into a room, take a moment with your hands on your heart. Set an intention. I bring only what serves clarity and consent. Imagine a thin filter around your field that allows in what aligns with service and deflects what seeks to agitate. This mental image, paired with a breath, changes how you relate to the crowd. Move through the space with gentle curiosity. If you feel heavy signals, adjust by physically moving towards an opening or stepping outside to reset. Listening to someone in distress. Practice contain and return. Your job is not to carry their feeling, but to hold it so they can process. Place one hand lightly on your own chest to root compassion. Keep the other hand free to gesture or to hold a cup, something that keeps your nervous system grounded. Ask a clarifying question only when you can maintain emotional distance. Would you like space to share or some practical help? Consent is the vector here. Making decisions that affect others. Before consenting to actions that carry consequence, give yourself a minimum time buffer when possible. This could be 24 hours, a week, or a checking-in call with someone trusted. Your ability increases speed, but speed without translation risks misalignment. Use your felt sense to prioritize, not to outrun due diligence. An advanced practice to develop dexterity, the micro-attunement exercise. Twice a day for 5 minutes, sit quietly and allow your attention to rest on the hands. Let your fingers twitch if they want to. Notice textures in the air that your fingers read. Don't assign meaning yet. Simply map the sensations and write one line about them.
Over time, you will learn to translate texture into intent. Dense fuzziness might correlate with confusion in a conversation. Crisp, clean edges might indicate clarity in someone's plan. This is practical training for applied sensitivity. Let's address a question that many will carry unspoken. Will this make me lonely? Possibly. Any growth that raises bandwidth filters the kinds of relationships that sustain you. Some friendships will shift. Some partners may not be able to hold increased sensitivity. That does not make you a failure. It makes careful choices more necessary. Invest in relationships that show curiosity, patience, and willingness to engage without spectacle. Communities that hold confidentiality and consent are best. Small groups where people practice boundaries and language around experience are gold. You will come to value depth over breadth. Which brings us to containment. Why community matters, and what to look for. The member circle I invite you into is designed as a container for integration. It is not mandatory. Think of it as a laboratory with safety rails. In this space, you can bring experiences, receive translations, and practice ethics with others who are navigating similar shifts. Here is what the circle offers practically. Weekly guided transmissions that unpack the Arcturian facilitation into stepwise practices. These sessions are recordings plus live Q&A to help translate somatic signals into actionable steps. Integration sequences, structured protocols you can practice over a month that support nervous system recalibration, boundary work, and future self-translation. These sequences are offered as guides and experiments, not prescriptions. Small group alignment calls, capped at low numbers for confidentiality and depth. Groups are facilitated by trained practitioners who hold ethical standards and consent practices. A private forum for written translation and peer support. Moderation is active to ensure safety, confidentiality, and non-exploitative feedback. The community guidelines require consent check-ins before energetic coaching is offered. Resource library, short practices, journaling prompts, and micro-anchors you can use on the go. Access to facilitators for short alignment consults. These are coaching style, not therapy, and are intended to help translate experiences into concrete next steps. If deeper mental health work is needed, members are supported in finding licensed professionals. The circle is intentionally designed to reduce spectacle and increase practical stabilizing work. Membership is optional and offered as a support structure for those who choose containment. It is not a requirement to embody the ability. Many people integrate successfully with trusted friendships and personal practice alone. The circle simply accelerates translation with careful scaffolding. Membership safeguards are clear. Confidentiality is enforced. Consent is required before any energy work is offered. Refunds and commitments are transparent. Moderators enforce non-manipulation clauses. You will be invited to review the community's code of ethics before any live interaction. Ask those questions if you consider joining. Healthy containers welcome scrutiny. Embedded in the activation are repeated anchors you can use privately. Here are a few optional phrases offered with consent language built in. Use them only if you feel called. I hold service first. Repeat silently to orient motive. I align my field with clarity and compassion. Use this when you need steadiness before a meeting. I return to consent. Use this if a boundary moment feels unclear. These are tools to focus attention, not spells to force outcomes. Use them with responsibility. As embodiment moves toward the deeper threshold, you may experience more vivid future self contacts. They can be grounding or disorienting. Practically, when a future self prompt lands, translate it into one small action you can take within 72 hours. If the prompt is tactical, call this person, draft that message, treat it like a suggestion to test. Recording outcomes builds trust. If the prompt is merely inspirational, a scene, an image, file it into your journal and watch for patterns. There is also an energetic etiquette to receiving guidance. Always test for alignment. Ask internally, does this instruction align with my ethical center and the welfare of all involved? If you cannot find a clear yes, pause. High-quality guidance harmonizes with your values and does not ask you to compromise others. Expect periods of acceleration followed by consolidation. Not every day will feel decisive. Many days will be slow accretion. Respect both speeds. When you feel momentum, use it to complete small, high-integrity tasks. When you feel consolidation, use it to rest and translate. Now, a clear description of the tipping moment, the point where your destiny, in practical terms, shifts. It is not a single thunderclap. It is a sustained alignment of internal tempo and external opportunity, such that you step into a role or a rhythm that consistently utilizes the new bandwidth. For some, the tipping moment is choosing a vocation that prioritizes presence over profit. For others, it is forming a small practice where their sensitivity is a service. For many, it is a cluster of decisions within a season that reshapes daily life, who you spend time with, what projects you prioritize, and how you manage attention. When the shift is active, you will notice your time feels differently allocated. You will be pulled toward fewer, more meaningful engagements. Your diary might thin in quantity, but deepen in quality. Opportunities that align with your mission will appear in sequence. An invitation, then a door opening, then a conversation that matters.
This is not fate unfolding without your consent. It is the field and your choices co-creating a new path. With that shift comes responsibility, to steward trust, to respect consent, to continue learning. The Arcturian Council's verdict carried a weight not to make you chosen in a cultic way, but to realign the field so your demonstrated capacities could be deployed more precisely. You remain an agent. Destiny shifting is a reorientation of resources toward probable pathways that mirror your inner readiness. It does not remove agency, and it does not remove consequence. As the corridor widens into a kind of vestibule, here are signs that your identity is stabilizing into its new nuance, the embodied markers of a functional shift. You find yourself using fewer words and clearer presence. Influence becomes quieter. Microsynchronies occur with regularity. Not every coincidence is meaningful, but patterns become trackable. You feel an increase in inner accountability. Mistakes will matter more because the field is sharper to feedback. You begin to choose opportunities based on long-term alignment rather than short-term reward. All of this converges into a usable skill set that operates inside daily life. The Arcturian facilitation does not ask you to leave your life. It asks you to refine how you live it. Before I close, a short set of practices for the week ahead to help you cross into stable embodiment if you choose to work with the field intentionally. Week Practice 1. Consent Mapping. For 3 days before interacting deeply with anyone, ask internally, may I attune to this person? Note the yes-no feeling. If yes, proceed with presence. If no, hold the space and attend to logistical action instead. Week Practice 2. The 3-minute integration ritual. At the end of each day, place your hands on your chest for 3 minutes. Breathe slowly and whisper one sentence about the day that feels true. This practice accumulates integration and slows the nervous system into habit. Week Practice 3. Pattern logging. Each morning, read the last 3 journal lines where downloads or impressions were recorded.
Note any repeating imagery or phrases. These repeats are code. Over time, you will translate them into practical meaning. You will likely notice that week-by-week patterns begin to emerge. This is normal and healthy. Keep curiosity as your posture. Now, the Council's tone is irrefutably clear. This is not a passive gift you stumble into. It is a responsibility you accept. If you are drawn to deepening with community support, there is a protected container available for integration. The member circle I've described above is designed precisely for this stage, a place to translate experience into craft with safeguards around consent, confidentiality, and ethical clarity.
If you choose to join, here is what to expect in the first 30 days. An orientation transmission that maps your early somatic signs into a personalized stabilization sequence. 3 live small group sessions to practice boundaries and translation. A resource pack with micro-anchors and journaling prompts. And access to the private forum to share and receive feedback. Participation is voluntary, practices are optional, and every offering is framed as support rather than prescription. Membership fees cover facilitation, moderation, and resource development. If you consider the circle, ask about trial options or orientation calls to ensure fit. One practical note about safety. If at any point your experience feels destabilizing beyond what personal supports can hold, reach out to licensed professionals who can assist with nervous system care. The circle provides referrals and does not replace clinical support. This is part of the ethical scaffolding you deserve. I invite you now to a short, optional anchor that you may use privately whenever you want to affirm your consent to this path. If you are called, repeat silently 3 times. I choose my pace. I choose service. I choose consent. Let each phrase sink into the chest. Let the forehead settle. Let your hands rest. Know this with clarity. The verdict moved because energy, readiness, and mission aligned. Your life is invited to rearrange accordingly. The change is real, tangible, and incremental. It will produce new rhythms, different relationships, and a clearer capacity to choose. It will also ask you to steward what you are given with humility and attention. If you feel the corridor as widened under your feet and something has shifted, you are not alone. There is a set of people walking similar paths and vessels designed to hold that work. The member circle is an option to receive guided transmissions, integration sequences, small group containment, and practical tools for translating downloads into lived choices. It is a place to practice accountability and to receive feedback that prioritizes consent and containment. To join that circle, click the Join button in this video's membership option. Review the community guidelines, read the orientation materials, and take the step that feels aligned to you. Again, this is entirely optional. Many integrate beautifully without it. The circle is offered for those who desire closer translation, containment, and community practice. The Arcturian Council's verdict folded into the room like a soft bell. It does not command your life. It reveals a capacity that wants to be used with care. Your body will tell you what pace to keep. Your ethics will guide how you apply the gift. Your community will hold feedback when you need correction. As you move forward, return to the micro practices, hands on heart, forehead pause, and the 3 daily anchors. Keep a journal near your bed and watch for repetition. Hold your curiosity. Practice consent.
Rest when the field demands it. Celebrate small, honest successes. Ask for help when you need translation. This is a new chapter of service and discernment. The verdict has shifted something in the architecture you carry. Destiny, in this sense, is less a decree and more a reallocation of resources toward probable pathways that match your readiness. Walk them with humility and with eyes open. Welcome to the next stage. If the invitation to contained integration feels right, click Join and step into the circle where guided transmissions, integration sequences, small group alignment calls, and a moderated community can support you. We will respect your pace, your consent, and your boundaries. We will hold what you bring with care and translate it into usable practice. You were never meant to carry this alone. If you choose connection, choose wisely. If you choose solitude, choose gently. Either way, the Arcturian Council's final verdict has moved the field. Your destiny has shifted its bearings. Breathe into that truth. Feel your hands, feel your chest, feel your forehead. Welcome what comes with integrity, and welcome the work of integration. You are recognized. You are invited. You are held.